At the beginning of the story, we see a man kneeling while he was surrounded by different warriors. While on his knees, the man remembered his father's words to him. Our protagonist's father asked him to live for his clan. This meant that our MC should not desire anything and he should just stay by his brother's side like a shadow. While our protagonist was thinking, someone walks up to him. The man said that it is insulting for a single knight to hold back the continent's strongest commanders. The commanders became ashamed when they heard this. With a smile on the man's face, he told our protagonist that he is very interesting. The man was not surprised to see this because our protagonist was the brother of someone important. The man told our protagonist, whose name is Cyan Vert, that he is quite talented. Cyan was annoyed to hear what came out of the man's mouth. He called out the man's name. This man's name is Boris. Boris smiled when he heard Cyan's voice. Cyan drew out his sword and asked Boris to tell him the person who ordered for his assassination. He asked Boris if it was the emperor that wanted his head. Cyan's sword released a small amount of dark energy. Boris was surprised to see the energy which the sword was emitting. He had only heard about the black fog in the rumors. He used his hand to cover his nose due to how sickening the energy was. Cyan stood up and released a large amount of his energy. Boris was not surprised to see this. He already knew that our boy was an assassin from Mist. According to Boris, Mist is an organization that is like fog to the Knights of Light. He told our boy that he will tell his higher-ups that he got rid of an impure being that was affiliated with Mist. Cyan did not care about what Boris said. He told Boris that he will no longer have his lips by the time he is done with him. As our boy's energy slowly got close to Boris, the evil-looking priest told him to not waste his time using his secret technique. He told Cyan that the entire area is covered with 9th star magic barrier. Our boy realized that he could not continue fighting. He knew that he had to escape the knights and get to his brother. He wanted to reveal the true culprit of the assassination to his brother. Cyan took a stance and told Boris that he will simply cut the barrier into pieces. Before our boy could make a move, he hears someone asking him to stop. Boris stepped aside and bowed his head when he saw this person. Cyan broke down when he saw the person who spoke to him. While staring at this person, Cyan remembered what his father said to him. Our boy's father told him that his brother Askell is an extension of the clan. He told Cyan that the success of Cyan Vert is also the success of Cyan Vert. The person who stood before Cyan was a knight. Cyan could not comprehend what was happening. He could not believe that the culprit was his brother Askell. Askell grabbed his sword and slowly walked up to our boy. Cyan fell on his knees. When Askell arrived in front of his brother, he could tell that his brother was confused. Cyan looked up at his brother and asked him to explain himself. Askell told our boy that he has carried out his duties well. He told Cyan that he has worked well for the clan and himself. Cyan was shocked to hear this. Askell told his brother that he simply wants to relieve him of his burden. Cyan grabbed his blade and began to release a small amount of energy. He asked his brother if he has done anything wrong. Askell was surprised to hear this question. Askell told his brother that the black fog that surrounds him proves that he is no longer human. He called his brother a murderer. The black energy around our boy thickened when he heard this. Askell yelled at his brother and told him that he has fooled everyone for a long time. He asked our boy if he truly doesn't know his sins. Cyan could not believe that Askell called him a murderer and a sinner. He was annoyed to hear what his brother was saying. The succession fight within the Empire, the Demon King's raid, and the war to unify the continent. Cyan helped his brother achieve all the things that he started. He did this by serving his brother with his life. Our boy smashed his hand into the ground. He could not believe that his brother was abandoning him, especially after he had worked like a dog for 20 years. As our boy became more enraged, the black energy around him thickened. Cyan stood up and decided to do things his own way. He did not care if he was going to die. He was willing to do anything to end his brother. Our boy released an enormous amount of mana and got ready to attack. The commanders were shocked to see this. They could not believe that Cyan still had so much mana left. They were certain that Cyan could not be an ordinary human. Cyan created a mask with his mana and took a stance. He asked Askell if he is not ashamed of himself. Cyan told his brother that he is a terrible person for trying to kill him because he is scared. Askell was annoyed to hear this. Cyan rushed to attack his brother. Askell easily dodges Cyan's attack. As our boy ran round his brother, he hoped to end his brother with one attack. Cyan rushed to attack his brother. He wanted to stab Askell in his weak point in order to stop him from regenerating. Before Cyan's blade could touch his brother's back, a shield appeared in front of him. Cyan was shocked to see the shield. He noticed that Boris was the one casting the spell. Before our boy could take another step, Askell stabbed him. He called Cyan a poor bastard. Our boy let go of his blade when he was stabbed. Askell told Cyan that he wanted to give him a painless death due to their relationship. He asked his brother to tell him why he showed his true colors. Askell told our boy that he has always known he was a demon. He told Cyan that he has never trusted him from the beginning. Cyan broke down when he heard this. Askell kicked our boy to the ground and turned around. He asked his men to leave with him. While on the ground, Cyan was covered in a pool of blood. As his consciousness slowly faded away, Cyan wondered if he was going to die. He was sad to see that he lived such a foolish and pathetic life. As Askell walked forward, he hears someone coming close to him. When he turned around, he saw his brother coming towards him with his blade in his hand. Cyan screamed out in anger as he rushed to attack his brother. Our boy's sword got close to Askell's neck. Unfortunately for him, he was not able to complete the job. Askell used his sword to slash and tear apart Cyan. The scene shifts and we see a boy breathing heavily as he grabbed his neck. The boy's maid asked him to get ready. She told him that he can no longer sleep. The boy was surprised to see that his maid, whose name is Emily, was in his room. He asked her to tell him how she is there. The maid was surprised to hear this. This boy turns out to be Cyan. Cyan was certain that the last time he saw Emily was 20 years ago. He did not understand how she had not aged. When he looked around, our boy noticed that the room looked exactly like the one he used to stay in when he was younger. Even the furniture arrangement is the same. Cyan did not understand what was going on. He quickly felt his face. Our boy realized that he had returned back to being a child. While Cyan was trying to grasp his situation, Emily asked him if he is stalling for time because he does not want to train. She asked her master to make up his mind and go to the training ground. Cyan was surprised to hear this. He did not know which training Emily was referring to. After getting dressed up, Cyan decided to go to the training ground. After looking at his surroundings, Cyan became certain that he had returned to the Vert clan duchy. He wondered if his life was flashing before his eyes. Upon seeing the people at the training ground, our boy remembered what happened 27 years ago. It happened March 1st of the Foundation year 985. The event took place a year before our boy entered the academy. Every year, the duchy holds a duel training session. Duke Vert, who is Cyan's father and the owner of the duchy, usually attends the event. Thanks to this, the event is treated as a big deal. Cyan's opponent was Cyan Vert. He is Cyan's half-brother who is the same age as him. Cyan's mother is a woman called Margaret. She is the wife of the Duke. Thanks to this, Cyan received a lot of attention, even though he and Cyan were the same age. Our boy was the bastardized son. After he was mocked in the duel, he became a laughing stock to everyone. Cyan remembered his father telling him not to do anything. He remembered that his father stopped paying attention to him after the duel. Currently, the same duel was about to take place. Emily begged her young master to simply surrender. Cyan could not believe that even a maid was looking down on him. He drew out his sword and assured her that he will be fine. When our boy drew out his sword, he noticed something odd. Cyan did not understand why a rapier would be heavy. He realized that his strength was the same as when he was younger. Our boy was certain that what he was currently feeling was quite realistic. He knew that his life was not flashing before his eyes. Cyan had also never heard of any magic powerful enough to create such strong illusions. Our boy began to believe that he might have truly returned to the past. Cyan was surprised to see his brother in front of him. He had expected Cyan to run away. Our boy did not care about Cyan. He was more focused on the fact that he could change the future. While Cyan was thinking, the Duke asked them to begin the duel. Cyan immediately rushed to attack his brother. He asked Cyan to stop thinking. With a smile on his face, Cyan swung his sword. Our boy noticed something odd when Cyan swung his sword. He noticed that Cyan was as slow as a snail. Cyan carefully moved aside and dodged his brother's attack. Cyan was shocked to see this. He turned around and called his brother a coward. He tried to attack Cyan again. Our boy easily used his sword to knock Cyan's sword away from his hand. Immediately he did this, he kicked Cyan's leg. The boy screamed out in pain and fell to the ground. While he was on the ground, Cyan began to cry. The Duke and his wife were surprised to see what happened. Margaret could not believe that her precious son was on the floor. Cyan knew that he could easily end the duel by putting his sword next to Cyan's throat. Our boy decided to do something else. In the past, Cyan used to bully our boy as a form of entertainment. This bullying continued in the academy. Our boy decided to stomp on his brother. He wanted to beat Krantz to the point where he would never think of doing anything again. As Cyan walked up to his brother, he decided to pave a new path for himself. When Krantz saw Cyan coming closer, he began to scream. The scene shifts and we see that our boy has completely beat Krantz up. The winner of the duel was Cyan. After the duel, the Duke ordered Cyan to come see him. He even cleared up his schedule. Cyan was surprised to see this. He wondered if his victory was actually so impressive. The Duke even gave Cyan Yulin. Yulin is a high-class knight who is directly under the Duke. While walking in the hallway, Cyan noticed that Margaret was in front of him. Our boy realized that Margaret was coming from the Duke's office. He could tell that Margaret went to talk about her son with the Duke. Our boy was happy to see the look on Margaret's face. She looked like she was insulted. Cyan decided to taunt Margaret. He asked her to tell him how Krantz is. Margaret was annoyed to hear this. She could not believe that Cyan had the audacity to ask such a question after beating her son up. She told Cyan that he is quite thick-skinned. As the two walked past each other, Cyan told Margaret that duels usually end with injuries. Margaret was annoyed to hear this. She called our boy a bastard and told him that bastards should not be treated like legitimate children. With an annoying smile on her face, Margaret told our boy that he is just like his mother. She told Cyan that his mother is a dirty whore. Margaret made our boy understand that he is supposed to be on the streets begging for food. She asked Cyan to stop putting up a fight and know his place. Cyan became pissed off when he heard this. He could not believe that Margaret actually crossed the line. He wondered if he should just kill her. Cyan quickly removed this thought from his mind. Our boy smiled when he thought about how he was going to torture Margaret. Nobody knew how to torture like Cyan, a former assassin. Cyan planned to torture Margaret slowly. Our boy reminded Margaret that he is also going to the academy with Krantz. Margaret did not understand what Cyan was trying to say. She asked him to tell her his point. With a terrifying smile on his face, Cyan asked Margaret if she wants her child to graduate with his limbs intact. He asked her if she is not worried about Krantz. The Duchess was annoyed to hear this. She raised her hand and tried to slap our boy. Before Margaret could lower her hand, Yulin used his hand to block her. He told her that the Duke is urgently calling for Cyan. He told her that they can no longer delay themselves. With a serious look on his face, Yulin told the Duchess that they have to leave. Margaret was shocked to see the look on Yulkin's face. She knew that she could not touch Cyan. Cyan laughed as he hid behind Yulin. He knew that Margaret could not do anything in the duchy. The Duke's orders are absolute. Cyan was being protected by a knight who was under an order. Our boy was happy to see that Yulin is a knight who would not submit even to the Duke's wife. In the next scene, we see Cyan step into his father's office. He bowed his head and introduced himself as the youngest child of the Vert family. After introducing himself, Cyan greeted his father. Our boy realized that it had been 15 years since he last had a proper conversation with his father. The Duke asked his son to take a seat. Cyan's father is known as Cyan Vert. He is the great feudal lord of Velias. Velias is a feud which is on the western part of the Ushif Empire. Velias is also known as the guardian of the continent. He is a hero who stopped the invasion of demons for a long time. With the help of his remarkable magic power and worldly wisdom, Velias shouldered a responsibility that no one compelled him to take. He shouldered this responsibility until he was killed in the invasion of the Demon King's army. The only thing the Duke ever wanted was for there to be peace throughout the continent. While people saw Velias as a great person, Cyan saw him as something different. Cyan remembered his father as someone who gave up his own free will and decided to live his life for others. Our boy saw his father as a stupid man. The Duke told his son that his eyes followed the sword, and he easily dodged the attack. Cyan did not understand what his father was saying. The Duke reminded our boy that he looked straight at the path of Krantz's sword. Upon seeing the path, Cyan easily dodged the attack. Velias asked Cyan to tell him when he learned how to wield a sword. Cyan realized that his father was still as sharp as before. He told his father that he usually practiced his swordsmanship in the night. Velias was surprised to hear this. He was certain that his son never had an interest in swordsmanship. He asked Cyan to tell him why he hid his excellent skills. Cyan told his father that he did not want to draw anyone's attention. The Duke found this odd. He asked Cyan to tell him why he fought Krantz seriously if he did not want to draw attention. Cyan did not know how to reply. Velias asked his son if he really needed to beat Krantz up mercilessly. Our boy found this question odd. He quickly realized that his father is trying to understand what he is capable of. Our boy told Velias that he wanted to prove himself. Velias was surprised to hear this. Cyan told his father that he wanted to prove that he is better than Krantz. This is why he took the duel seriously. Willius began to laugh when he heard this. He was happy to hear that his son gave him a clear and concise answer. He told Cyan that he is quite level-headed. Willius was happy to see that his son was talented. With a smile on his face, Willius told his son that he will be a great supporter for Askell. Cyan was shocked to hear this. He had taken a different path and he still got the same result. Our boy realized that his father was obsessed with Askell. He clenched his fist out of anger. Willius told his son that he will give him anything he wants as a reward. Our boy became determined to destroy everything that Askell wants to do. With a smile on his face, Cyan told his father what he wanted. The scene shifts and we see Emily panicking. Emily could not believe that her master told the Duke that he wanted to go to the battlefront. Cyan told his maid that nothing is certain yet. Emily asked her master if he has lost his mind. She asked him if he knows the kind of place which the battlefront is. With a look of fear on her face, Emily told Cyan that the battlefront is filled with wicked and terrifying demonic beasts. Velias is the only place on the continent that can be called a battlefront. Velias and Lemia Valley are separated by a river. Lemia Valley is known as the front line. The front line is a ferocious battlefield where battles with demons have been going on for hundreds of years. Because of how dangerous the battlefront is, Willius was against Cyan's request. He told our boy that he will only grant him his request under one condition. Willius asked his son to become worthy enough to go to Lemia Valley in 1 month. Cyan was surprised to hear the condition. He did not know how his father was going to determine his worth. Our boy clenched his fist and assured himself that he will raise his physical strength before a month. Cyan knew that he was still much weaker than his peers. Our boy realized that he was quite lucky to have retained his combat senses after he regressed. He was certain that he would have not been able to beat Krantz without it. After looking at his body, Cyan was able to pull out a small amount of mana. Our boy realized that he can become stronger in a much faster way. He decided to quickly begin his training. Before our boy could do anything, someone barges into his room and calls out his name. The person who barged into the room was a girl named Alice. Alice quickly ran to Cyan and grabbed his collar. She asked him if he is crazy. While Alice was shaking Cyan, Emily simply greeted her. Alice was shocked to hear that her brother asked their father to send him to the battlefront. She asked our boy to explain himself. Cyan could not say anything. He begged Alice to let go of his collar. Alice dropped her brother. She believed Cyan was being overconfident because he defeated Krantz. She asked her brother to follow her to the roof. When they got to the roof, Alice asked her younger brother to draw his sword. She told Cyan that she will let him go to the battlefront if he can survive her attacks for 3 minutes. Our boy was surprised to hear this. He asked Alice if she actually needs to fight him. Alice told her brother that she does not want to hear his opinion. She asked him to answer only one question. Alice asked Cyan if he is going after the family's title. Cyan was surprised to hear this. He realized that Alice was worried about him because of the title. Unfortunately for Alice, our boy had no interest in the title. Upon seeing that her brother did not reply, Alice assumed that he was actually after the title. She asked Cyan to draw his sword. Our boy drew out his sword. He could not believe that he had to fight Krantz and his sister in one day. The moment Cyan drew out his sword, Alice rushed to attack him. Our boy was shocked to see this. He quickly blocked his sister's attack. Alice was shocked to see this. She could not believe that a 10-year-old managed to block her attack. Cyan was surprised to see that Alice would go all out against a boy who she has a 7-year age gap with. Alice decided to move back. She could not comprehend what was happening. Alice knew that a rapier is a very light blade, and yet Cyan was able to block an attack from her long sword. Alice wondered if her brother was just lucky. With a scary smile on her face, Alice told her brother that he has a good intuition. When Cyan saw the smile on Alice's face, he realized that he was screwed. Alice began to attack our boy more intensely. Cyan was able to block the attack, but he was slowly getting pushed back. Alice jumped and launched a heavy hit on Cyan. Our boy was barely able to block the attack. He used his sword to slowly push his sister back. Alice was shocked to see this. As our boy's sword slowly got closer to Alice, he realized that things were getting dangerous. Cyan twisted his sword and used it to push his sister back. He also stepped back to create a large gap between himself and Alice. While doing his best to catch his breath, Cyan realized that he could have made a terrible mistake. If our boy had not twisted his sword, he would have killed Alice. Thick fog is the swordsmanship used by Mist members. Most of the skills which the swordsmanship has is used for killing. It is hard for our boy to fight without killing because he currently lacks the strength to fully control his techniques. Cyan did not know what to do. He wondered if the 3 minutes his sister spoke about had not finished. Our boy noticed that his hand was trembling. Cyan had been imbuing mana into his sword in order to make up for his lack of strength. He realized that he was almost at his limit. While Cyan was thinking, Alice began to chant something. She asked the earth and the wind to act as her sword. Cyan was shocked to hear what Alice was saying. He realized that his sister was activating a 6-star magic spell. Alice took a stance and gathered mana in her sword. Her sword became known as Aqua Blade. Our boy could not believe what was happening. He realized that his sister had lost her mind. This skill is powerful enough to kill him. When Alice activated the skill, she told herself that she must not lose. She repeated this to herself over and over again. Cyan could easily tell what she was thinking. While standing at the edge of the roof, Cyan realized that he will fall out of the castle if he manages to block the attack. He decided to trust his plan. He rushed to attack Alice. Alice raised her sword in the air and accumulated a large amount of energy. Before Cyan reached his sister, he prayed that someone would come out of hiding. When our boy got close to his sister, Alice took a stance and got ready to strike her little brother. The moment Cyan was in her range, Alice swung her sword. Yulin came out of hiding and asked Alice to stop. He drew his sword and stopped Alice's attack. He also grabbed Cyan to stop him from moving. A bright light shined when Yulin blocked the attack. Yulin told Alice that she is being too harsh to a younger opponent. Cyan was relieved to see that Yulin came out of hiding. He knew that he would have been severely injured if Yulin did not come to save him. Upon hearing what Yulin said, Alice came to her senses. She quickly grabbed Cyan and wrapped her hands around him. She apologized to her younger brother for almost harming him. She told him that she lost her mind for a moment. As tears rolled down from her eyes, Alice told Cyan that she fought him seriously because she wanted to stop him from going to the battlefield. Our boy was not offended by Alice's actions. He knew that his sister always tries too hard. Alice is a student who is an elite among elites. She received an S rank in all her subjects in the academy. The Royal Academy is a place where different talented students gather in. Alice topped this students in almost all subjects. Apart from being smart, she is also quite beautiful. People referred to her as God's child. From a young age, she was trained in swordsmanship. People often called her the future guardian of the continent next to Cyan Vert. In the past, after Alice joined the Knight of Light, she was killed. Cyan held his sister tightly. He promised to protect her in his current life. Alice was surprised to see that Cyan held her. Alice remembered that Yulin is the Duke's personal knight. She told Yulin that her father has gone to the battlefield. She asked the knight to tell her why he is still in the castle. Yulin told Alice that his master asked him to protect Cyan for a while. Of course, Yulin could not tell Cyan because he was supposed to secretly watch him. Our boy was not surprised to hear that Yulin was following him. He already felt the knight's presence the moment he left his father's office. Cyan realized that Yulin would have never shown himself unless he was in danger. While our boy was happy that Yulin was able to save him, he did not understand why his father would ask the knight to protect him. Before Cyan could think about it, he fell asleep. Our boy was already exhausted from the fight. Alice was surprised to see that Cyan fell asleep. With a smile on her face, Alice called her brother a little kid. The scene shifts and we see Cyan doing his best to work out. Cyan found out that Alice had returned to the academy. She only came home to see her father before her graduation. Cyan knew that he had to get stronger, so he focused on improving his physical strength for 2 weeks. Unfortunately for our boy, he could only do 10 push-ups at best. Cyan did not understand why he could not improve further. Our boy was quite confident about his strength because of how well built he was in the past. Cyan wanted to get his amazing body back. He realized that he needed a solution. While Cyan was thinking, Emily stepped into his room. She told her master that Alice sent a package to him. Cyan was happy to hear this. While covering her nose, Emily asked her master about the package. She asked him about why the bottle smelled so bad. The bottle contained the blood of an hellhound. Cyan begged Alice to get the blood for him. The hellhound's blood is supposed to be a rare item that should only be found in Lemia Valley. Cyan was surprised to see that Alice was actually able to get it in the black market. Cyan poured the blood into a bowl. People consider the blood of a demonic beast to be poisonous due to its sickening smell. The blood also gives a burning feeling upon consumption. Cyan knew that the blood of a demonic beast actually permanently improves one's strength and mana. Most people assume that this was a rumor. Cyan was able to confirm the effects of the blood in his past life. Cyan began to sweat heavily when he realized that he actually had to drink such a sickening thing. Emily asked her master if he is actually going to take such a disgusting blood. While Cyan was not happy to drink the blood, he had already tasted something much worse. This is Emily's food. Our boy drank the blood in one go. Cyan remembered the first time he tasted Emily's mushroom soup. The moment he had a bite, his heart stopped beating. After drinking it all, he dropped the bowl on the table. His eyes began to glow. Our boy told Emily that the taste was okay. Cyan stood up and called his maid's name. He told Emily that he wants to go for a walk. Cyan wanted to test the effects of the potion. Our boy walked far away from the castle. Cyan had been waiting for this opportunity for 2 weeks. Fortunately for our boy, Yulin did not follow him for his regular reports. Cyan used to go to the area when he wanted to be alone. In the past, Askell received a divine revelation from the god of light Lamendel. According to the revelation, there is an ancient temple hidden in the mountains. Cyan began to search for the temple. While looking around, our boy placed his hand on the ground. He was surprised to see that the flow of mana was actually concentrated in one place. With a smile on his face, Cyan realized that only he knew about the temple. Askell still had to wait for some years before he receives the revelation. Our boy activated his mana and placed his hand on the ground. The moment he did this, the earth began to tear apart. Cyan was happy to see this. He wondered about how Askell would feel if he knew about what he was doing. The ground split apart and a pathway opened up. A bright light shined from the tunnel. When Cyan went into the cave, he noticed that it was much different from the last time he was there. The cave which Cyan is currently in was an ancient temple that served the god of light. All the history of the land was erased because of the god-demon war that took place 300 years ago. Inside the temple, Cyan saw a bright light coming from the altar. Our boy could not believe that a place like this actually existed in the mountains. When he reached the altar, he saw the owner of the temple. The owner was a floating golden sword. It was the golden sword that shined brightly in the temple. On August 12, 999 before foundation, humanity succeeded in driving out the Demon King's army from Velias. The Demon King's army were far stronger than humans, but the humans were able to fight back thanks to ancient relics which they found. These relics are known as God's weaponry. Among the relics was a holy sword blessed by Lamendel. The sword is known as Duran Dark. This sword was deemed the main cause of humanity's victory over demons. It is also the same sword that Askell used to kill our boy. Cyan wondered if Duran Dark had something to do with his unexpected regression. He decided to place his hand on the sword. As Cyan expected, nothing happened. Cyan kicked the sword out of anger. He decided to leave the sword and focus on the real reason he entered the cave. Once a person walks away from the bright light of Duran Dark, the person will feel a shadow that is otherworldly. Cyan saw a shadow that looked like a sword. At first glance, one might think it is a shadow of the holy sword, but it is actually not. Cyan knew that there was no shadow on the ground. Just as a holy sword exists, something dark must also exist. Cyan imbued his mana into the shadow. The moment he did this, the shadow scattered and created a pathway. The pathway leads to another room that is hidden by the altar of light. When Cyan stepped into the room, he saw a sword on an altar. Cyan was happy to see the sword. With a smile on his face, our boy grabbed the sword. This sword is the demonic sword Kiram. It is the sword our boy uses in his past life. The moment Cyan grabbed the sword, it released a huge amount of dark mana. Cyan greeted his sword when he held it. Our boy noticed something odd about the sword. He began to swing it around. He did not understand why his sword was not awake yet. Our boy was happy to swing his sword. He had missed the feeling of his sword. Cyan wanted to use the sword to quickly slay something. While Cyan was swinging his sword, a dark shadow being appeared in front of him. The mysterious being asked our boy if he does not fear anything. The being asked Cyan if he knows the meaning of waking it. Cyan was not scared to see the mysterious being. He told the shadow that the sword now belongs to him. The shadow rose up and increased in size. As the mysterious being looked down on our boy, it told him that there are consequences for waking a sleeping demonic sword. With a creepy smile on its face, the shadow told Cyan that it is too late for him to regret his actions. It told him that his body now belongs to it. Immediately it said this, the shadow rushed to attack Cyan. It wanted to devour him. When the shadow got close to him, our boy grabbed it by the neck. As Cyan slowly choked the shadow, its body began to wither away. We see a lady underneath the shadow. The demonic sword turns out to be a lady. Cyan told Kirim that she was not this stupid the last time he held her. The lady grabbed Cyan's hand. She asked our boy about his identity. Kirim did not understand how Cyan was able to hold her. With a confident smile on his face, Cyan told the lady that the sword belongs to him. Kirim put her hand in the shape of a claw and tried to attack our boy. Cyan easily dodged the attack. The moment he dodged the attack, the lady escaped from his grip. She quickly created a gap between herself and Cyan. Kirim asked Cyan about his identity again. She asked Cyan if he is the successor. The demonic sword noticed the odd energy around Cyan. She asked our boy to tell her why he is exuding Erev's aura. Cyan told her that he is Erev's successor. With a confident smile on his face, Cyan told Kirim that her master has come back. He asked her to bow down. Kirim was annoyed to hear this. She could not believe that a kid was trying to order her around. She quickly rushed to attack him. Cyan was able to stand his ground and block the attacks. Our boy knew that he would not be able to get through to Kirim with words. Cyan expected this because the final goal of a demonic sword is to take over the user's body. Cyan decided to educate Kirim a little. With a smile on his face, Cyan activated a skill known as demonic sword control. The moment our boy did this, the demonic sword slammed her head in the ground. While her head was on the ground, Cyan asked Kirim to accept him as her owner while he is still being nice. Although a heavy pressure was pressing her down, Kirim managed to raise her head. She asked Cyan about how he is able to use the skill. She called our boy an arrogant idiot. The moment she said this, Cyan activated the demonic sword control. Kirim's head got buried in the ground. Upon seeing that Kirim was not responding, Cyan used demonic sword control 3 more times. Upon seeing that her entire body had almost been buried, Cyan asked her for a response. Kirim called Cyan a human and told him that she will accept his offer. Due to the fact that Kirim called him a human, Cyan wanted to activate the demonic sword control again. Kirim quickly called Cyan master before he activated the skill. After getting what he wanted, Cyan stepped out of the room. He decided to head back to the castle. He realized that he had been gone for too long. Kirim turned into a small floating creature and came out of the sword. She was very excited to breathe fresh air for the first time in a long time. Kirim asked her master for his name. Our boy introduced himself as Cyan Vert. Kirim found our boy's name weird. She could not believe that Cyan was actually Erev's successor. She asked Cyan if Erev actually chose a kid like him. Our boy told Kirim that he was chosen in his past life. Kirim was surprised to hear this. She believed that our boy was saying nonsense. She asked him to explain himself. Cyan told her that he has died before. Kirim could not comprehend what her master was saying. Cyan walked up to the holy sword. Kirim told her master that the holy sword is still asleep. Cyan revealed to her that Duran Dark will have to wait 20 more years before his owner comes for him. Kirim did not understand what Cyan was saying. She told him that he speaks as if he knows the future. Cyan raised his sword up and used it to cut the hilt of the holy sword. The sword fell and Cyan grabbed the hilt. Kirim was shocked to see this. She did not understand what her master was doing. She asked him to tell her what he is going to use the hilt for. With a creepy smile on his face, Cyan told Kirim that it will make things a bit more interesting in the future. Kirim became worried when she heard this. In the next scene, we see a carriage driving away from the castle. The carriage stopped when it arrived at its destination. Cyan stepped out of the carriage in an armor. Our boy could not believe that today was the day he was supposed to meet his father. He was surprised by how fast time went. Cyan walked up to the Duke and bowed his head. Willius decided to confirm his son's decision. He asked Cyan if he truly wants to go to the battlefront. He told his son that he has one last chance to leave. With a determined look on his face, our boy told the Duke that his heart lies in the battlefront. Upon hearing his son's response, Willius asked his knight to open something. Yulin brought out a scroll. Cyan was surprised to see the scroll. He realized that it was a magic scroll. He wondered if his father wanted to summon something with the scroll. Yulin opens the scroll and imbued some of his mana into it. Immediately he did this. A large magic circle appeared on the ground. A demonic beast slowly came out of the magic circle. The beast was huge and it had a large amount of fire on its head. The fire went down to its tail. Cyan was surprised to see the demonic beast. He realized that his father summoned a hellhound. Our boy was not bothered by the beast in front of him. He brought out his sword and took a stance. He knew that his father and the knights must have had a hard time preparing a low-ranked demonic beast from Lemia Valley. The knights placed their hands on their sword when they saw that their young master had unsheathed his sword. They got ready to strike the hellhound in case anything went wrong. Willius told his son that he has to be responsible for all his actions. He asked Cyan to prove his resolve by passing the trial in front of him. Yulin wondered if Cyan actually saw the demonic beast in front of him as a trial. The knight had an idea about how powerful our boy truly was. A few days earlier, Cyan asked Yulin to have a duel with him. Our boy explained to the knight that he has only 3 days left before his father's time limit ends. He told Yulin that he needs someone to practice his swordsmanship with. With a smile on his face, Cyan told the knight that he wants to get a real sense of battle. Yulin did not feel comfortable with this request. He told Cyan that it is best for him to duel with Krantz, who is the same age as him. With a smile on his face, our boy told Yulin that Krantz always runs away every time he approaches him. Yulin already expected this because Cyan had terribly traumatized Krantz. He decided to accept Cyan's request. He told our boy that he will only fight him with his sword sheath. He told him that he will only focus on defense. He asked his young master to attack him with his full strength. Cyan thanked the knight for the opportunity. He decided to ask Yulin for another favor. With a horrifying look on his face, Cyan told Yulin that he must not tell his father about what he is about to witness. Cyan told the knight that he is giving him an order. Yulin found our boy's order to be concerning. Immediately Cyan gave the order. He rushed to attack Yulin. Our boy easily closed the gap between himself and the knight. When he got close to Yulin, he swung his sword. Yulin easily blocked the attack. Although Yulin blocked the attack, he noticed that the hit was heavy. He could not believe that a 10-year-old was able to land such an attack. While the knight was in position, his young master disappeared in front of him. Yulin was shocked to see this. He could not believe that Cyan was actually quite fast. He quickly turned around to block Cyan's attack. To his surprise, our boy was not on the ground. Cyan was above the knight. While he was in the air, Cyan attacked the knight. Yulin was able to turn around and block the attack. Our boy began to attack more aggressively. Yulin was able to block the attacks. Our boy took a stance and decided to deliver one final hit. Unfortunately for him, Yulin was able to block his attack. Upon seeing that he could not win the knight, Cyan placed his sword back into its sheath. He thanked Yulin for his efforts. Cyan already knew that he could not win. He simply wanted to test his strength. While breathing heavily, Yulin congratulated his young master on his progress. The knight could not believe that his weak young master had grown so powerful. Although only 3 days had passed, Yulin could tell that the current Cyan was already strong enough to overcome any trial placed in front of him. The demonic beast glared at our boy. It decided to attack him. Cyan took a stance and got ready to cut the demonic beast. When the monster got close to our boy, he swung his sword and cut one of the monster's eyes. The demonic beast stumbled and crashed on the ground. Our boy knew that it would be stupid for him to prolong the fight with his current strength. He decided to end it quickly. He wanted to end the fight with his next attack. The monster stood up and got ready to attack our boy. Before the monster could take a step forward, Cyan closed the gap between himself and the monster. Our boy stabbed the hellhound in its neck. Upon seeing that it did not die, Cyan jumped and threw his sword at the monster's head while he was in the air. The sword went through the hellhound's head and ended its life. The knights were shocked to see this. They could not believe that a 10-year-old actually killed an hellhound. The duke smiled when he saw what his son had done. Cyan was sad to see the blood of the hellhound on the ground. He wanted to get some for himself, of course. He knew that people would treat him like a crazy person if he was to actually take some blood. Our boy took out his blade from the monster's head. Willius clapped for his son. He commended our boy on his achievement. Cyan was surprised to see his father clapping. The duke turned around and told his son that he will see him at the battlefront. Cyan bowed his head and thanked his father for his help. As Willius walked forward, Kiram came out of her sword, with a look of anger on her face. Kiram asked Cyan if she is a kitchen knife. Cyan asked the demonic sword to tell him why she is asking such a question. Kiram told her master that he needs to use her. She told him that she needs blood to gain more strength. Kiram moved close to the hellhound's corpse and begged her master to allow her have one gulp. Cyan did not feel comfortable with Kiram begging him. He asked her not to worry. With a serious look on his face, Our boy told Kiram that they are going to a place where he is going to use her to his heart's content. He told Kiram that she will enjoy their next destination. In the next scene, we see ogres appear in an area. The knights in the area rang a giant bell to alert the other knights. Willius asked his knights to set up a line of defense and take care of the ogres. He asked them to slaughter all the ogres. The Duke ordered his men to activate a spell called Restraint of Salvation. Immediately he said this. Some knights raised their swords up. A large magic circle appeared in the air. The light from the magic circle blinded the ogres. Before the ogres could move forward, a magic circle appeared below them. The magic circle released some ropes made of light. This ropes restrained the ogres. Immediately the ogres were restrained. The Duke ordered his men to attack. The knights followed their master's order. They used their swords to tear through the ogres. The knights easily cut off the heads of the ogres. While the knights were fighting, one of the heads of the ogres landed in front of our boy. Emily was terrified to see the head. She cried out with fear in her voice. She looked up at her young master who was on a horse. She asked Cyan to tell her why he came to such a terrifying place. Cyan did not know what to say. As our boy looked around, he felt nostalgic. He never imagined that he would return to the front line again. Willius moved close to his son and asked him about how he is feeling. Cyan told his father that he feels a bit nervous to be on the front line. Willius made his son understand that anyone can die at any time in the front line. He asked his son to never let his guard down. With a smile on his face, Cyan told his father that he will be careful. In the front lines, it is a common thing for people to die. At least 3 to 4 battles take place in a day. Each of the battles has its own detailed response manual. The response manuals usually have advanced knights as the main attackers. The advanced knights take care of all the monsters that try to cross the front lines. After the battle was over, the knights returned to the camp. Cyan poked his head outside through his tent. Our boy was given a tent in the rearmost area. This is the safest area. When Cyan looked outside, he knew that it would be hard for him to escape, especially when he has well-disciplined guards watching his tent. Our boy knew that he might not get a chance to feed Kiram. He wondered if he needed to wait to dinner time before he made his move. While thinking of his next step, Cyan noticed that Emily was shivering under a blanket. He asked his maid to tell him why she is shaking. Emily poked her head out of the blanket and reminded Cyan about the Duke's warning. She told him that they can die at any time. Cyan was annoyed to hear this. He asked Emily about why she does not want to leave. Emily was annoyed to hear this. She yelled at her master. She reminded our boy that he cannot do anything without her help. With a look of anger on her face, Emily told her master that there is nobody to take care of him in a place filled with monsters. Cyan became nervous when he saw the look on Emily's face. The maid decided to head out of the tent. She wanted to get her master's food. As Emily walked out of the tent, our boy asked her about the cape he requested. Emily simply ignored her master. Cyan was annoyed to see this. He wondered if he should just chase his maid away. He could not believe that she was serving her master so poorly. The scene shifts and we see Cyan setting up a doll as his replacement. After carefully putting his doll in the bed, Cyan decided to leave his tent. Before he could take a step forward, Emily woke up. She asked her master if he is going to train. Cyan told her that he is. Emily was surprised to hear this. She could not believe that her master wanted to train in such a place. Emily told her master that his father will be proud of him if he finds out. Cyan was not moved by Emily's praise. He covered his head with a hood and asked Emily to take care of things. Before going out of his tent, Cyan reminded his maid that he is supposed to be asleep. Emily asked her master not to worry about it. Although it was late, Cyan knew that the security is tight at night in the front lines. He decided to move carefully. Our boy knew that this was the best time for him to move freely. While running, our boy noticed that he had reached the end of a cliff. He jumped and activated the third move of the thick fog. This move is known as Fog's Descent. This technique allowed our boy to easily land on the ground. When Cyan landed on the ground, different monsters surrounded him. Our boy remembered that a lot of monsters lived in the area. Cyan realized that he was in the right place to feed Kiram. He called out to his sword. Kiram became excited when she smelled a strong scent of blood. She began to release a large amount of energy. She told her master that she can no longer hold herself back. She begged him to cut something quickly. Immediately she said this. A large amount of hellhounds rushed to attack our boy. Cyan took a stance and told Kiram that he will be granting her wishes. Immediately he said this. Our boy tore apart the first monster that came close to him. He activated a technique called Rushing Fog Storm. Immediately, he activated the technique. He tore through the hellhounds. After defeating the monsters in the area, Cyan stabbed one of the hellhounds with a stick. He used the stick to get some of the monster's blood into a cup. When our boy drank the blood, he felt refreshed. Kiram told her master that she finally feels alive. Cyan was happy to hear this. He told Kiram that they should continue training. Kiram asked her master if they will become stronger by fighting such weak monsters. With a smile on his face, Cyan asked Kiram not to worry. He told her that the night is young and there is still a lot of monsters left. When Cyan turned around, we see a large amount of demonic beasts gathering in the area. The demonic sword became excited when she saw the monsters. In the next scene, we see a bunch of knight guarding a girl in a carriage. The girl's maid told her that the front line is dangerous. She begged the girl to turn the carriage around. The girl asked her maid to stop treating her like a child. She told the maid that she is the royal princess of the empire and she must assist her father during his tours. The princess told her maid that she will get angry if she hears one more warning. The maid apologized to her mistress. She decided to share some information with the princess. She told the princess that the youngest son of the Vert family is on the front lines. She told her that Cyan is the same age as her. The princess was surprised to hear that the duke actually took his youngest child to the front lines. The maid told her master that the duke did not take Cyan. Instead, he volunteered himself. The maid told the princess to do her best to get along with Cyan since they are the same age. The princess told her maid that she is not interested in such trivial things. She told her that she wants to get some sleep. The maid apologized to her mistress for disturbing her. Before sleeping, the princess asked her maid for our boy's name. The maid told her mistress that our boy's name is Cyan Vert. The princess was surprised to hear our boy's name. She repeated it to herself. Guys, we have come to the end of our video. If you guys want part 4 of this recap, let me know in the comments section. Don't forget to like and smash that subscribe button for more recaps. See you guys later.